In this lesson, we'll take a quick look at the creative process for our vehicle concept, and then we'll begin exploring options for refining our concept into a three-quarter view. Alright, so right now I'm working with the project file military vehicle concept _ process, and what I'd like to quickly do is kind of take an overview of kind of the work that I've already done for this particular concept. Now, if you're familiar with our Infiltrator conceptual course, you'll probably recognize what I've done here. I've done a series of really quick profile sketches, essentially, just detailing only the silhouette of our vehicle, and I've tried really hard to give myself as many options as possible. Now, in thinking about this vehicle concept, the type of vehicle I would like to create here is sort of a military style vehicle. Now, not just a military style vehicle, but more of an urban troop transport type of vehicle, something that could roll down a city street in the middle of a crisis situation and get to its destination and take troops as well with it. So looking here kind of at the sketches I've done here, or the silhouettes that I've done, just to kind of overview this process, I've picked out a couple of those here and kind of pushed those silhouettes just a little bit further, trying to kind of think about some of the details that make up that silhouette, sort of the positive and negative space in each one of these silhouettes. And you can tell that these are really quick and really dirty, really loose, just almost thumbnail sketches. So at this point, thinking about a concept vehicle, let's just go ahead and take a moment to talk about pipelines, because more than likely you're either a part of one of two pipelines. Either you're planning on building this vehicle in 3D yourself, or you're a concept artist, maybe contracted by a studio, and you're providing options to give to maybe an art director who is going to communicate with you and maybe take those options and give them to a 3D modeler, and they're going to be the one creating the vehicle. So taking in mind those two different avenues, we're going to go ahead and assume the first, that this is a vehicle that we're wanting to build in 3D, and maybe we're just wanting to improve our modeling skills for vehicles in the area of the conceptual development part of the process. So thinking about that, let's talk about some of maybe the challenges that a modeler might face for a project like this, as opposed to somebody who's more of a traditional concept artist, somebody who draws vehicles all day long every day. So a modeler may run into some issues when drawing this. Maybe they aren't as used to drawing things with their hands rather than in 3D. Maybe their hand skills aren't as trained to just being able to freeform draw hard surfaces like you would find with a vehicle. Another challenge is that a vehicle has a lot of perspective that's involved with it. So not only that, but a lot of implied perspective. So some things like that may be a challenge for a modeler. But let's think really broad here for a moment, and let's think of maybe some things that we can use to help us with this process. So what I've got going here is, like I said, a few sketches, few quick silhouettes, and I've gone ahead and thought about this vehicle two-dimensionally first. I've thought about just the profile of this vehicle, and you can see that these are really, really quick. Let me go ahead and bring in another layer here, because I've created just a line art sketch, a little bit more time spent on this sketch based on this particular vehicle here, and just kind of detailing some of the key elements that belong to this vehicle. Now you can see here that if we zoom in on this particular vehicle, obviously some of the questions I've answered with this sketch are the number of wheels that it has, and how many, or rather the position of those wheels on the frame of the vehicle. I've answered the question of the weaponry, the visible weaponry the vehicle has, and the question of where occupants would board the vehicle, being that I've kind of incorporated a door into the side here. Now, again, this is still a really rough sketch. This is something that, as I translate this into a three-quarter view, this could change. Some of these details that I've drawn here in the profile view may not work out once I begin drawing this in a three-quarter view. Remember, a three-quarter view is going to present us with a view of several sides at once. It's going to present us with a view of the front, the top, and one of the sides of the vehicle. So, not all of these details that I've drawn in here may work, so this is still subject to change. Now, being that I'm not a modeler myself, what I've done is I've talked to some of the other talented creatives here at Digital Tutors, and I've asked them to use my thumbnails here and my silhouettes to create some quick 3D thumbnails. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull in those images here and show you a few of those. I've included these for you in case you want to use any of these for your own work. So these are just a few quick 3D thumbnails, probably no more than 10 minutes spent on each one, that have been mocked up in a 3D application. Now you can see that these are very simple, very basic geometry here, just really not a whole lot going on. But really, this is all we're going to need in order to take our vehicle to the next step and draw out a three-quarter view detailed version of this vehicle, something that would be suitable to take and begin our final model with. So again, just cycling through several of these options. This is actually the last option, and this is probably the option that I'll be using for this course. So you can see here that I've already had this positioned into a three-quarter view, but the JPEG, or the image in front of me here, really doesn't look a whole lot like this profile that I've already drawn out. There's several key elements that are missing, but we've got a lot of the major forms in place. So what I can do now is I can take this particular model and rotate it in my 3D app. I can put that into a three-quarter view like you see it here, and this is going to help us. We can just bring this into Photoshop and draw right on top of it. Now you may be wondering, well, what good's that going to do? Why spend some time doing a 3D model like this? Well, again, what I mentioned before was some of the most troublesome things that are going to trip you up if you're not used to drawing concept vehicles each and every day are, one is perspective. Getting the perspective right for every little detail of the vehicle is going to be a challenge for you. So this model is going to serve the purpose of holding that perspective, keeping that perspective for you so you always have something to refer to if you ever get lost. Now, in addition to perspective, this particular view of this model, we can see that all the basic forms are there for this vehicle. We have the correct number of wheels, the wheel positioning is in about the right spot, and we've got a lot of these basic forms, including kind of a form back here to start with, at least, for designing the gun turret that's going to be on the back of this vehicle. We've got here our cab area kind of right in the center, and we've got kind of this bulbous area in the middle area, which is going to be sort of the area that serves as where the troops would stay. So, you know, not all of our details are here. We have plenty of creative freedom to expand on this idea and really focus on detailing our vehicle. So I tell you what, just to answer a few more questions for you, I want you to take the vantage point of, you can use any of the models we're using or that I just showed you in this course for your base vehicle. Don't feel like you have to draw the exact same vehicle that I'm working with here. Now, each one of those base 3D sketches that I showed you, I've included an OBJ file for you, so you can feel free to take that into your 3D program and position it the way you want, and maybe just render out a still image of that for yourself to draw on. Don't feel limited to just the vehicle I'm drawing here. Or, even better, think of your own 3D sketch. Work up your own 10-minute 3D sketch of a concept vehicle and bring that one into Photoshop and use that one as we move forward. Either way, hopefully by the end of this course, you're going to end up with a really great vehicle concept that you can then take and begin building in your 3D app and end up with a really impressive model for your portfolio. So at this point, we've already answered the questions of what's this vehicle's purpose. You can kind of see here I've started thinking about scale of this vehicle, and when it comes to occupancy, I'm thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8 individuals might ride in this vehicle at one time. I'm also thinking that there'd be an interior access to this turret in the back, that someone could climb into the turret from inside the vehicle and operate that as well. So again, we've already talked about this is going to be an urban troop transport and assault vehicle. So at this point, I think what we're ready to do is we're ready to go ahead and bring in our 3D model as a still image here into Photoshop and begin setting up our initial drawing for this concept vehicle. So in the next lesson, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here. We're going to start with this file here, 03_begin, and you can see that I've already got our 3D model masked out and ready to draw on top of here in Photoshop.